Go. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Legend Known Classics. This is episode number 3318, Doubleshot 3212. Pretty much we have two DC trades. First one is kind of interesting, this one, because it's a crossover with Dark Horse, and I believe to date this might be the last known crossover DC did with this company. Did with Dark Horse, because I haven't heard anyone since then. I mean, I know, yes, they've had Batman crossover. They basically got good relations with IDW. Where they have Batman crossover with the Turtles. They've had I think the Justice League crossover with Turtles too. I think so. No, I think it was, yeah, no, it wasn't Turtles. It was Power Rangers. Yes. So, but Dark Horse, for some weird reason, after this very story came out, which I think was back in 2017, I think it was. For some weird reason, I do not know why. I think they've done maybe one more crossover since then. And I think it was a crossover between Tarzan and Planet of the Apes. But I think that's been it, because it's been pretty quiet when it comes to crossovers with Dark Horse, because, well, they don't publish much anymore because Marvel pretty much stole the licenses, all the major ones they had. But here's what they took from Dark Horse, which they published for a long time. They took Star Wars, Conan, Alien, Predator. It took all these licenses for them. Alien and Predator was really weird choices. Planet of the Apes, basically, they publish now. They actually got it from Boom Studios. But this one was one they haven't recently published, but let's talk about it. We have Wonder Woman Conan. This book is not only be the last known time, one of the last known times DC crossed over with. I think the last time I could think of where DC crossed over with Dark Horse. But this is also, believe it or not, the last Conan story published by Dark Horse. You're like, really? Last one? Yeah, this was definitely 100% the final Dark Horse Conan story. Why this was? Well, because Marvel got the license. And they had it for a few years, and then the license just up expired. And then went to Titan. So there was a rumor of the reason why Marvel lost the Conan license, because they changed the character's look without the estate's mission. No, that was not the case per se. Marvel got out of it due to, well, apparently because of the comic published in France. Yes, because of the fact there's a French version of this character. That was kind of the reason why, because it's supposed to be exclusively just for Marvel only. Not 5 or 6 other comic publishers the same character. And excuse me. And Marvel just like, yeah, it's like a bit misleading, kind of how to describe it. I heard this from Chuck Dixon, where Conan was published as the Sumerian, I think it's how you pronounce, yes. They published under that. It was Conan, but name only. And because Marvel found out about this, they're like, yeah, we're gonna let the license expire, despite the fact that the Conan license is very, very popular for us. Yeah, Conan basically put out a lot of good comics. Like, of course, there was also Conan the Barbarian, obviously, Savage the Conan, his time with the Avengers, handful of miniseries. Marvel seemed like they're having a blast with the character. And the license expired. Yeah. But as for why Marvel had taken it from Dark Horse, that part I don't really know, because I've never heard exactly the reason for this. At least in the case of Marvel going to Titan, at least I know that one. In the case of, see, Dark Horse is publishing Conan since 2001, which somehow they got the license. It's not particularly very clear, like how they got the license, how they lost it. I don't really know. But they published a lot of comics for Conan. Like, if you look at the catalog of how much basically that Dark Horse put into this character, they put a lot of comics. His first comic lasted 50 issues. Everything else lasts like 12 or whatever. But they published a lot for the character. Heck, they published like a couple of miniseries for Solomon Kane. which he's getting a little more love, more Titan than he did over even Marvel or even Dark Horse, for crying out loud. And in case you're curious though, did Conan ever cross over with Red Sonja? He did. He even slept with her in the miniseries. You might thinking who wrote it? Gail Simone. Of course. But what about this book in particular? Well, it's Wonder Woman Conan, which is just happened by Gail Simone. Yep. Artwork by Aaron Lipsy. Met the guy. Cool guy, met person. Yeah, it's only 6 issues. It is mostly it's focused a lot on Conan per se. Wonder Woman was randomly found in Arena, who she's referred to as, I think she's referred to as the Witch, I believe she is. But she remembers herself being Wonder Woman, but she doesn't remember her real name. It, of course, all to do with basically Greek fate, per se, getting involved with the story. And, of course, does Conan say Crom? He does. Frequently in the book. Good on Guess One for doing that. Now you might be curious, though, because of how Conan is. Did he sleep with Wonder Woman in this story? Nope. Did he make out with her? Shockingly, no. Because I'm sure he probably would love to make out with Wonder Woman. Get how much of a beautiful woman she is. But, nope. It's them basically after they break out of the arena that basically Conan finds her in. They go on adventures together. Eventually she doesn't remember who she really is. And then she goes back to Themyscira. But overall, really good miniseries. I give it roughly a 9 out of 10. Excellent book. If you're a fan of Wonder Woman Conan, check the book out. Heck, I would even check it out basically if you're a fan of Gail Simone, because the book is so good. Next book is also featuring Wonder Woman. We have Justice League Unlimited Girl Power. Yes, it's basically a comic book set in the TV show Justice League Unlimited. Yes. So, the stories are Divine Conqueror, Rolling on the River, Random Across Memories, War of the Sexes, Jonas Girls, Outside Looking In, The Cycle, Raw Deal. So, this is what the book collects. Stories published in this. Adventures DC Universe 6 and 9, Justice League Adventures 4, Justice League Limited. This, of course, is the first volume, not the current volume published by Mark Waid. Issue 1, 20, 22, 35, and 42. Published the years of 1997, 2002, 2004, 2006, 2007, 2008. The first story here involves basically where Wonder Woman, Captain Atom, and Superman quit the team, but it's all about Captain Atom, the story, which is interesting. There's a chance here too. It's mostly Also, this is a big contracted from the show because, well, let me point out a bit of a continuity hiccup with this story. Because Captain Atom is part of this roster, and yet, here's the thing. In the show, now, here's the contradicting here when it comes to the character's looks. That kind of contradicts basically the show itself, namely put Hawker wearing a helmet. Because in the Starcross story, she took it off and never wore it again. Nope, never did. As for the reason for it, I don't know. Also, her original outfit she wore in the show, she decided to stop wearing it and wear a different look. One that shows a bit less skin, because basically her original look of the show showed more skin. And Zatanna will be part of this roster. Also, Batman's belt is kind of interesting. Yes, this look is more based upon the animated series look. As for why it wasn't look like New Adventures, I don't know. It was kind of weird. So, see, I'll teleport down. There's also a thing here with Despero and Brainiac. Yeah, they randomly pop up in this story. So then, of course, they apparently faked up. And then here's something. We have Power Girl in the book. You're like, wait a minute, Power Girl? Was she in the show? Kind of. Galatea was basically the show's version of Power Girl. Well, most of what she was based on her, except she was a clone created by Professor Emil Hamilton. And he did it because he got scared of Superman in the series finale of the animated series. That's the reason why he did it. That's why he became part of Cadmus. But interesting enough, they include Power Girl in her 80s look. Basically the look she had back in the late 70s. Why they went with this look, I have no idea. So it's a quick story focused on her, and then focus on Black Canary, which, for some reason, they have her wear her Birds of Prey costume, despite the fact when she appeared in the show, she did not wear this costume. She actually wore a completely different outfit in the show. She actually wore a more classic look. Oh, and the writers of these stories. So, Divide and Conquer. This is done by Adam Beechin. Yep, he's the one who wrote this one. So, who wrote the Power Girl one? Steve Vance. He also the Black Canary. It feels like a Black Canary Birds of Prey story. They just happen to throw her in here. Just cause. Then we have War of the Sexes, which basically focuses on, well, basically it's basically all about focus on the Amazons and Athena started turning bad, and focus on the original Justice League members with no additional ones. If I'm thinking, who the heck wrote this one? Well, it's mostly Justice League versus the Amazons. And for some reason, they don't credit the writer here. Yeah, for this one, they don't credit the writer. I would have thought they would have, but look, there's no credit for credits, which is kind of weird. There it is. It's in the bottom. It's Dan Slott. Yep, he wrote this one. As for the cover one, yep. This is written by Paul D. Story. He does the script, and Rick Burchick does the artwork. It is mostly focuses on Mary Marvel, with guest appearance in this book by Captain Atom, Elongated Man, Boost to Gold, Blue Beetle, and Fire. Yep. Also, there was this weird funny thing in the show where Flash had a thing for fire. Yes, because I think it was Hawk Girl, one of your characters. That would be a funny idea while they're running in the Quinjet, because obviously this is of course not Barry, this actually was Wally, had a thing for fire, and then of course they toppled the plane over by having fire fall into Wally's lap. I'm like, dude, you lucky bastard to get this beautiful woman. And I talked to Rod Reese about her. Yeah, she kind of doesn't look like typical Brazilian, but she's as beautiful. I mean, the one thing she has in common with Brazilian women, they're very beautiful. That's according to Rod Reese. That is how he basically described her, because that was one thing accurate about the character he actually liked, is that she's beautiful, because according to him, Brazilian women are very beautiful. Yeah. One way you can tell that, to look at Ty Conte. She's Brazilian. And there's no denying, Sammy Guevara is a very lucky man to marry this woman. And the fact that she gave him a child. A girl named Luna. So as most but Mary Marvel, of course, we also see the Crimson Avenger, the Shining Knight, Starman. We even briefly see in a cameo in the background, you have Hawk and Dove, and that's the Crimson Avenger. Here's the weird thing about the Crimson Avenger. Did you know he predates Batman by about 2 years? You're like, what? Seriously? Yeah. Here's the thing about the Crimson Avenger. He's a Shadow ripoff. No joke. Look him up. Supergirl is here. We also see Bawana Beast, the Creeper. Bawana Beast is a character who doesn't get a lot of love because he's a bit of a racist stereotype. That's kind of basically how people don't like him very much. Eventually he got killed off in the pages of Animal Man. So we have a team up between Supergirl and Mary Marvel, where you have Dr. Light take us some creatures. We also have Hawk Girl in not her correct costume. They didn't remember, like, yeah, she doesn't wear the helmet anymore, but not the correct costume. So, and then of course Huntress is here, And she's also not wearing the correct costume that she wore in the show. Yes, because in the show she had a different outfit. Yes. Yep. And I like this whole story of basically all the girls working with each other, and it's really fun. Now, next story, as like it's written by Adam Beach, and it features a story with Gypsy, a Jerry Conway character who doesn't get a lot of love nowadays, purely because she's very rarely used. Who they decided to draw her, the artist who drew her, which was Rick Burchett, they actually depicted her as how she's depicted normally in DC Comics universe pre-Flashpoint. And then we have Mr. Terrific, which yes, the outfit's a little different in the show. We also have Ass Smasher, Aztec, LeRae. Huntress is still not in the correct costume. Yes, they still have not put Huntress in the correct costume. They probably were assuming that she's going to use this costume, but no, she wore a different costume. And according to Tony, but I think it was Tony S. Daniel, the costume she wore in the show was actually debuted prior to her appearance in the show. You have the Gypsy investigating Toyman with Wally. It's really cool the fact we have her working with the Justice characters. Yeah, for a character who don't really appear on the show. And then we have a character who's be standing for Lex Luthor. And then we have our next story here, where it focuses on Natasha Irons, another character who never appeared in the show, but they have her depicted here in her comic outfit. And this story here is written by Mata Casal, artwork by Scott Kahn. It's basically a quick, fun story with Natasha Irons, which I thought was really cool here. And she refers to her uncle as Uncle Steel, despite like his name is John. Yeah, I don't really know why, but it's a really fun story. But then we have a story focused on Wonder Woman, where the story is written by Dan Rasbars, artwork by Chris Jones, called Raw Deal. It's mostly a Wonder Woman story, which I thought was really interesting. We focus on her. Of course, you have John here too. And something we call Just Like Unlimited. It doesn't really feature characters with correct looks, but this overall is just really good. I would really check this out if you're a fan of Just Like Unlimited TV show. But I'm gonna take a quick look at something before I close this video out here with so let's see. Yeah, so okay, so yeah, the whole thing Wonder Woman here is Hawkeye was definitely right. It was definitely an error. So do I think some of these stories are multi-story? Let's see. One definitely is not. How about 20? Is one story. It's just girls. So basically, chapter 1 from issue 1. The Just As Girls actually is chapter 5 of this book. 22 of Just Like Unlimited. That is Out to Look At, which is chapter 6. 35. 35 is chapter 7, which is Cycle, and 42 is probably Raw Deal. Yep, 42 is Raw Deal, and you might be, oh yeah, basically does feature one take on the Royal Flush Gang. You probably think you read this book, you're like, how long was it Just Like a Limited comic book for, the original one? 46 issues, and after 42, the book managed to last for 6 more issues. You're thinking, okay, what about, let's see. Avengers Universe, number 6. What is that one here? That one is, let's see. Okay, so basically the story Rolling River is actually a backup story in this one. Okay. And as for issue number 9, 9 is, let's see. 9 is the third story in this book, Random Across Memories. This was a backup story in this book. But what about Just Like Adventures? Let me guess, War of the Sexes, right? Oh yeah, definitely, and it's a full story. Yep. Yep. I was just curious about it, so don't worry about it, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much it for particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, back to Bogus Scale Fruit Master, okay? Next video, bye.